storage.
Beamformer, receiver, display, storage, and the master synchronizer, right? That controls and makes sure all the internal parts are working in unison. Okay.
Chapter is very simple.
Very simple, right? Very simple. It's the easiest chapter so far,
It's not interesting.
right? It is very interesting.
No.
It is very interesting.
No.
All right, guys. So we talked about the pulsar. We know what the pulsar does. We know the pulsar is part of what? Transmission, right? It's part of the transmission. Okay? The transmission. Okay? Creates electrical signals that excite the PZT and create sound beams. Okay? We know that pulsar is going to control what three things does it control? PRF. Absolutely. Amplitude, PRF, and PRP. Okay? Our amplitude meaning our strength. Okay? So this plug right here, that's our power. The pulse inside of the machine is going to determine how much power is going to be sent to those PZT. Okay?
And then the pulse comes with the machine, so it's inside the station.
Those are our terms with the pulsar, absolutely. Remember, the pulsar, it cannot make the image uniform from top to bottom, right? Because we know when we change our transducer output, we're changing the image brightness completely. The whole image is being changed from top to bottom, right? Okay. We talked about noise and the signal to noise ratio. We like a high signal to noise ratio, right? Because we don't want meaningless information on our screen. Okay. So we like a high signal to noise ratio associated with high quality. Okay. Adley, can you see? Is that machine in your way?
It's okay, I'll just.
You sure?
No, it's fine.
You pay for this.
Come over here.
It's fine right there.
There's another spot here.
All right. So low signal to noise ratio is associated with low quality, and you can see the contamination a little bit more. Okay, so we don't want contamination, but we want nothing but meaningful information. Even when we know that's kind of avoidable, right? We're always going to have some sort of noise associated with our images because we get those low-level reflected sound waves. All right. PRP, you know how to fix that. PRP and PRF are determined by the maximum imaging depth, correct? So when we adjust our depth, we're effectively changing our pulse repetition period and pulse repetition frequency. Okay? With deeper imaging, we're increasing our pulse repetition period because we're increasing the listening time. Okay? With pulse repetition frequency, we're decreasing it for that same reason. Meaning we're going deeper into the body, so we're not able to send pulses out as frequently. We're not able to send as many pulses per second as we are with shallow imaging. All right. So we got to the beamformer, guys. Boom, beamformer is the part of the transmitter that functions during transmission and reception. It functions during transmission and reception. Okay. During transmission, it receives the pulse's electrical signal. Remember, I drew that the other day? It's going to receive the pulse's electrical signal, and it's effectively going to distribute those pulses, that electrical signal, out to the different PZT via a channel, right? A channel is made up of what, guys? A wire, system electronics, and the active elements. Okay? And like I said, it coordinates the complex electrical signals sent to each active element. Can somebody therefore optimizing the transmitted beam and reduces lobe artifacts? Lobe artifacts are associated with what kind of transducer?
Multifocus transducer.
A multifocus, the phased array transducer, right? What kind of side lobes are associated with what kind of transducer? Side lobes are associated with what kind of transducer? A single element transducer. Don't forget that, guys. That's super important. Multifocus is associated. Side lobes are associated with
Single focus.
single focus, and grading lobes are associated with multifocus. All right. So, can anybody tell me about apodization? Because that's also what the beamformer does. What is that? Anybody? That's going to be on a rate sheet 100%. 100%. What's that, Myra?
reduces the side lobe.
It reduces the side lobes, right? What is? How does it effectively do that, though? How is that happening?
The middle gets less.
Ah, there we go, Myra. There we go. Exactly. So apodization works by the beamformer is sending stronger signals to the outside active elements and weaker signals to the inner active elements, because we know weaker signals going to create side lobes, okay? And we don't want that meaningless information on our image again. So the beamformer is responsible for apodization. It's also responsible for steering and focusing our beam, correct? Because it's going to determine those complex electrical signals sent to the active elements and when they are sent. Okay, that's the beamformer. All right, here we are right here, guys. Here's the beamformer. What is it doing right here with this curve? It's going to focus that beam, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's curved, it's going to focus that beam. Okay. If it's sloped, it's going to steer that beam. All right. So here's our example right here. This is apodization, guys. See, our electrical signals are a lot stronger in the inner crystals, and they get progressively weaker as it goes to the outer crystals. Okay, the beamformer is responsible for that function. Okay, because that's going to reduce our grading lobes. Okay. So, still during reception, the beamformer establishes the correct time delays for during reception, the beamformer will establish the correct time and delays for dynamic receive focusing. Because we know after the sound bounces back, after it reflects off the patient and comes back, it's going to come back to the beamformer, like I have right here. It's going to come back to the beamformer, and the beamformer is going to control the times in which those signals get amplified. Okay, so the beamformer also controls dynamic aperture. You guys remember what dynamic aperture is? Anybody? Dynamic aperture?
It uses crystals, different crystals, like different number of crystals.
Uses different number of crystals. Why?
To
Ooh, there we go, Pat. To narrow that beam at different depths. Good job, Samina, Pat. Good job right there. Man, y'all, we bringing it back. I told y'all, don't ever forget none of this, because it's going to come back to you, okay? So it does that by varying the number of PGT crystals doing both reception and transmission, right? So if we use a greater number of crystals, we're going to have a much thinner beam. If we use a lower number of crystals, it's going to be the opposite. Here goes our image right here. So here's our dynamic receive focusing right here. Here would be a our dynamic receive. Our beam is going to come back at different times. So when it comes back, it's going to effectively amplify those sounds that come back faster, because usually when the sound comes back faster, usually at a higher, going to have a higher signal. Okay. So this is how dynamic receive focusing works right here, guys. And this is our dynamic aperture right here. So the more crystals we use, the deeper our focus is going to be. Okay, so it's going to control our beam width over a greater range of a greater depths. We're just there effectively helping out with lateral resolution, correct? All right. So the beamformer does those things. So during transmission, what is it controlling, guys? During transmission, what is the beamformer doing? No trick question. No wrong answers. During transmission, what is it doing? It's sending signals, but it's controlling those complex. Signals, so it's effectively controlling focus, right? Focusing. It's controlling the steering and the apodization, right? Because it's gonna control those complex signals being sent to the active elements. Okay, and during reception, after those active elements get hit by the reflected sound waves, they're gonna turn into electrical signals, right? When they come back, the beamformer is gonna effectively control dynamic receive focusing, and it's gonna control the aperture. All right. Okay. We golden. Pat, we golden.
Can you diagram on the illustration with the diagram on the wall.
Okay. Hit our light for us. Okay, guys. So I want to redraw our diagram again because I want to add to it today. All right. So we're gonna start off. Actually, I need to add one more thing right here. Add our transducer. Okay. That's our transducer right there. So we got our pulsar. That's gonna control our electrical signals. Our amplitude, our straight. Our amplitude, PRP, and our PRF. Okay. Amplitude means shift, PRP, PRF means the depth. Okay, we're going to change that a variable depth. All right, so that's electrical signal. The strength of that electrical signal is going to be sent to the beamformer. Okay, that beamformer is going to decide how do I want these signals to be distributed among the active elements, right, during transmission. Okay, so the beamformer is going to decide that. Okay, and however it decides to do that, whether it be by apodization, whether it be by steering and focusing that beam, right, it's going to effectively send the sound waves off to the patient. Okay, I mean, it's going to send those sound waves off to the transducer where the active elements are. Okay, those active elements are going to vibrate. Remember, if they vibrate vigorously, that's going to be a strong signal, right? That depends on the pulsar, right? If the pulsar sends out enough voltage, then our crystals are effectively going to vibrate more vigorously. Okay, we're going to get a stronger signal. Okay, so we want a stronger signal because that's going to decrease the noise. Correct? All right. So our signals are coming to the patient. Boom, they bounce off the patient. They're going to come back to the beamformer because the beamformer has to control the dynamic receive focusing, and it's going to control the aperture. Okay, the dynamic aperture too. Okay, so after it comes back, those electrical signals are going to be sent to the receiver, and we're going to talk about the receiver in a minute. The receiver has 5 functions. Okay, so the beamformer, again, it works during both transmission and reception. Transmission and reception. Okay. Focus, steer, and vibration. And during recession is dynamic focusing and dynamic aperture. Okay, we're good with that, Pat? When the beat started sounding, the beat started sounding. Hit our light for this, please. All right. Guys, we good on the diagram right there? Okay. The beamformer, two functions, transmission and reception. Okay. So, but nowadays, guys, we use digital beamformers, and they're using advanced microprocessor technology that produce signals in the digital format. Because back then, before we had like digital displays, everything had to be done analog, right? Like when you had to go to the file room and get pictures, get your image out the file room. Now they can just give you a little disc, or they can send it to you electronically, right? So now with digital beamformers, they're able to do everything digitally. Digital beamformers have their advantages. Okay, update modifications only require software programming. Think about your cell phone. I don't have to go in there. I need an update to my phone. I don't have to take it to the Apple store and they have to tear it apart and then put the modifications in there that I want. Right? My little reminder come about once a month. Say, hey, We got a system upgrade. You want to download the new iOS, blah, 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 blah. I sure do. You know, right? So that's that one of the advantages right there, that you don't have to have hardware or hard equipment in order to improve your system. The software can be improved. Same thing with our computers and what we use every day. All right. Another advantage is that it's extremely stable. Digital beamformers, again, it's digital. It's computerized. It's no mechanical parts. It's no pulley and no lever in there moving around in there that can eventually break, like our car, like a Tesla, right? A Tesla is an electric engine. It's less likely to break than our regular cars who have all these moving parts, right? That's not to say it can't. Because if it crashes, you know, then we out of there. Okay? And last but not least, digital processors, digital beamformers, they're versatile. Okay? They're able to use transducers with a wide range of frequencies. Guys, what is a wide range of frequencies? It's 2 words for it. What's a wide range of frequencies? Broadband, what? And wide bandwidth. Broadband and wide bandwidth. You see how this stuff that was in chapter 6. You see how that stuff it always comes back. It always comes back. Okay? But these are the reasons that digital